Welcome to Automation Ladies, the only podcast we know of where girls talk about industrial automation. Welcome to another episode in the miniseries, the Automate miniseries of Automation Ladies. This one is, again, I'm pretty excited for all these episodes, to be honest, but today we have Christine Busch with Schneider Electric with us. And I was just asking her earlier, I had met a couple people from that team, Robotics at Schneider, which I did not know until Allie and I went to TraceRouteCon a couple of years ago and met a couple of lady members of the robotics team at Schneider, in fact. And so it's kind of been one of those things that like I knew about, but I haven't heard and or talked to a lot of people or seen a lot of those applications. And then I noticed Christine on the speaker list at Automate this year. And I thought I would love to hear what she's going to be talking about. I'm not going to be able to attend the session, so that's what this is for. Christine, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I certainly appreciate it.
Absolutely. So can you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do at Schneider?
Yeah. So Christine Busch, I have been with Schneider Electric for 20 years. So I've held many positions within the organization, but automation is near and dear to my heart. Before I came into the organization, I always say, if you cut me, I bleed ones and zeros because I love discrete logic and discrete manufacturing. But today I'm leading the Robotic Center of Excellence. So I have a team of business development managers that are out in the field working with customers to understand what their automation and robotic needs are. And then I have a team of application engineers that assist the business developers, but more importantly, supporting our customers, trying to ascertain what their need really is and to be efficient with meeting their overall goals for installing high levels of automation as well as robotics.
Okay. And so can you tell us what your talk is going to be about that you have at Automate, and kind of consider this, give a little synopsis to those that are going to, if they're not going to be able to make the talk. And this will probably come out after Automate because just scheduling wise, we couldn't get them all done before the show. But, Automate is one of those things that like, yes, it's once a year, but I mean, I don't know about your world, but in my world, we plan for Automate pretty much all year. Like it's one of our biggest shows. So to me, it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to keep talking about Automate after Automate for next year, right? So if you didn't catch Christine's talk this year, then I'm sure there will be more robotics content from Schneider at Automate next year.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this is kind of like, you can tell me and the audience what we missed since we didn't get a chance to catch your talk.
Okay. Well, when they first came to me about an idea to speak, of course, it was like, are you going to talk about motion and robotics? And I'm like, yeah, I could. But because the show is filled with automation and robotics, I thought one of an interesting take would be return on investment. And I think from vendors that sell automation and robotic equipment to OEMs that build machines to the end users that install these pieces of equipment and technology in their facilities, what is a return on investment? And how do we make automation successful? Because it's always a topic when I get together with my peers, either internally or externally with the associations that I'm part of. It's, are we making end users successful with deploying automation? Yeah. And how do we help them get there with deploying, having a successful implementation, and more importantly, showing the value? That is what I'm going to be talking about. And I'm going to be talking about it from a simple fashion, which typically, if you look at return on investment, what am I replacing? Am I replacing old equipment with new equipment? Am I replacing headcount? Am I more efficient with my system? Am I going to have more throughput with my system? Then they determine how much they're going to spend on either the machine, the systems integration for applying it on the plant floor. And then they do, again, that simple return on investment. But there are so many things that are overlooked that make the return on investment unappealing. And so I hear from end users, it's very hard to create that return on investment so that the financial teams are saying, yes, we need to do this.
Yeah. And so And what is that return on investment that they're typically looking for in terms of, is it years now? Like, what is there sort of an average acceptable ROI figure that the finance teams, are going to say yes to?
Yeah. Right now, I see a common period of time being 18 to 24 months, depending on what level of automation is going into the plant.
Okay.
Of course, finance is always going to push you. I want a return on investment in 12 months.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's not feasible. But I think maybe future-wise, you'll hear about in my presentation, are we overlooking things that may be able to accelerate that return on investment to potentially that 12 months that a financial person is going to want to see? But again, we can't look at it from the simple return on investment calculator that most finance organizations use.
Yeah, which is kind of like how many headcounts, like what are we replacing? Isn't that kind of the basic one?
The basic one is we're going to replace headcount, and this is how much money I'm going to spend. And then the simple calc is how many months am I going to recuperate that based on replacing employees.
Yeah, which I've always hated as a way to look at this, because I feel like if you're looking at it that simply, like you're not even looking to grow your business. You're just like, okay, we just want to save money.
Right.
Which obviously is you want to do that. Like automation should be there to make you more cost competitive, but
yes,
I think not just cost competitive, but competitive. So in my mind, it's always been, okay, not just are we replacing an operator, but like, what are you upskilling that operator to rather than replacing them? How much more capacity are you going to get? How many more orders because you have a better product or a better lead time or whatever, right? So yeah, what are, can you tell us what are some of these things that you are now pointing out to people in the audience that they should be taking into account in their ROI calculations?
Yeah, I'm bringing to the table, and I think it's a new spin on return on investment, but I think if you're a machine builder and end user, and I'll stay in the end user space, what's your plant vitality?
Okay.
And who are you communicating to be part of the team to evaluate adding high levels of automation or robotics? Where's your buy-in inside your organization? Is it just engineering and finance? And I think a lot of times it's just engineering and finance. Mm-hmm. And the negative connotation that comes out of it, and this is why robotics has such a negative connotation, is we're going to replace humans with robots.
Right.
And that's just not the case. It is one piece of it, but the piece that gets overlooked is where we're adding high levels of automation is where no one wants to do the job in the first place. It's probably the position in your organization that has the highest turnover. And so you're putting a lot of investment into an employee only within a 9 to 12 month period for that person to say, this job is not for me. It's too repetitive. It's boring. It's dirty. It could be dangerous. The 3Ds that we all talk about in robotics. Mm-hmm. And then that valuable resource walks out the door and goes to a competitor into a completely different industry. And so we're not empowering the employees. We've heard you. We've listened to you. We know we need to automate that job, and we need to empower you into X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I so completely agree with that. Now, when you look at that from an ROI standpoint, then the labor calculation becomes not, I mean, yeah, you probably are replacing the headcount, like the salary of that person doing that particular job, right? So you still kind of look at that as a number.
Yep.
And are people rolling in the cost of recruitment? Because if these are high turnover positions, it costs a lot every time, recruitment and training, right? Yep. So you really need to add that to the salary of the person you're potentially replacing, or like you're moving them up or you're upskilling them.
Right. And you have your sunk costs of just training the employee.
Yeah.
That you're never going to recoup if they walk out the door too quick. So that's something else to look at.
Yeah.
And be part of that calculation. But what we're looking at is we're still staying inside that financial calculation. Yeah. So one of the things that I think we need to do is step outside out of that financial calculation. And we need to bring in another metric that can show return on investment. And I'm going to refer to it in my speech as plant vitality.
Right.
Okay. What does plant vitality and the combination between the traditional, let's look at it from a financial perspective, what we're spending, if we're replacing boring jobs so that we have consistency from a performance perspective, but what are we overlooking from the plant that we always talk about we need, but we're not bringing it into the calculation? So operational efficiency, are we taking a look at that? Are we taking a look at how reliable the current line is? What are our maintenance fees? Does the line have a KPI? And if the line has a KPI, where are you at with your performance, that line? Do you have too much downtime? Do you have aging equipment so you can't find replacement parts? So you're just, resorting to not truly engineering a solution for it. You're just cobbling together a short-term solution. Are you getting the buy-in of the employees on the field or on the line in the plant? The most successful adoption from automation is going to be not just engineering and finance buy-in. The operators need to believe in it, and that is going to provide them a better outlook in their current job, make things easier for them, make the line more productive, and make them more empowered to make executive decisions on the line for what's currently happening.
Yeah.
About marrying those together and how does a return on investment look?
So Kit, do you provide, I guess, in the talk or as a resource to those looking at it, like a version of this calculator that they could run on their own? Or is it kind of like, hey, if you work with us, like we'll help you do this? What does that look like if somebody wanted to know?
So I'm looking at, I've provided a couple of snapshots of let's look at it a different way, and this is how it can look. Mm-hmm. But I think every industry has some flavors that they need to bring in from a vitality mix. Okay. And so I'm going to give them an idea of what a calculator should look like in the future so that you have a vitality index. Where are you at versus where you want to be, and how many basis points are you away from where you're at to where you want to be versus where you're at from the typical financial piece, but to not forget a cross-sunk cost that we seem to overlook because we just want a simple calc. What am I replacing? And how much am I spending? And then how many years is it going to take for me to recover from those two things?
Yeah. Are we looking at in these like calculations? I know it's kind of like, hey, the return on investment of we made this investment, we want to get our money back in a certain period of time.
Absolutely.
But then you do have a ongoing cost of operation of that either piece of equipment, that robotic system, whatever.
Yeah.
Are we also kind of calculating and looking at the long-term cost of ownership, I guess, over the lifetime of that piece of equipment, including maintenance, spare parts, things like that?
Yeah, that is part of the financial side. But when you get into a vitality, it's age of line, the maintenance on that line. So yes, it does come back to that financial piece. But when a line is brand new, your maintenance is low. Yeah. And then as you age, the maintenance goes up. So are you taking a look at that? And then other areas of buy-in will be, where are you at with digital transformation within your own organization? And what data is this line giving you? And what are you doing with that data to tell you that you're more productive, you're saving energy, you're meeting sustainability goals? So it's all about bringing that into an equation from a vitality mix that may be a little difficult to put a dollar value to. Mm-hmm. So that's where I get back to a vitality index, creating a point system so that you can score where you're at, and you can compare a new line to a line that's a few years old to an aging line, because your vitality index is going to go down based on how well you keep your line. So the new to the old will be two different metrics, but you can do simple modifications throughout the years to boost that vitality index. So these are the things that you need to continue to look at from my point of view. And I think it'll open up an interesting discussion inside the industrial automation and robotics community. We do need to pay attention to the simple, the tried and true calculation of return on investment, but we need to step outside and look at what's important to us from a corporate perspective, and where we want to be future state.
Yeah.
How do we want to compare against our competition as well?
No, that's a good point. Are there like industry benchmark like reports and things that these customers look at from that standpoint to see like how they're doing? How do they compare themselves to their competitors?
That's a good question. And that's a piece of the puzzle that is going to take a community. If we're going to look at a plant and put a vitality score behind it, we need a lot of buy-in in what vitality actually means.
Yeah.
So I'm putting things out on the table that I think need to be part of a vitality index, but I think it's going to take a community to really define that and make it a standard so that you have, again, the financial return on investment with a vitality index to show you when and where you need to start paying attention to modernizing a line versus replacing an entire line.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you seeing, I guess, across, like, obviously you're kind of in the robotic space. I know, cobots are very mature at this point. They're offered by most major automation companies because they've kind of just become another like standard type of automation component that you want to look at for certain types of applications as part of that mix. Are you seeing adoption really going up of as people are looking at modernizing lines, just kind of thinking of the cobot as a standard part of that equation, possibly, or is it still novel? Are people, past a lot of these pilots? Because I feel like in the last, I don't know, few years, like first it was really hyped, people bought them, maybe didn't have a great use case or didn't understand exactly how to get their value out of them, but it was new and shiny. Like right now AI is, and everybody's like, we've got budget to try some AI thing. Right. And back then it was like, oh, we'll buy a cobot because it's, relatively inexpensive. And then sometimes it didn't work, or it would sit there, or they had way more high mix than they thought. And it really, doesn't work that well with just, let's put it on random stuff every day. Like it doesn't work that way. Are we like mature now to where people really have good handle on these use cases and are implementing them when they should?
Yeah, I think we're more mature. You're right. It's not the brand new shiny object like it was, and I think there was a lot of confusion around what a collaborative robot can and cannot do.
Yeah.
And so to your point, I think that there were a lot of decisions made that said we must have one in our plant. Yeah. Don't know where we're going to put it, and we don't know how we're going to use it, but this is our step into adding robotics into our facility. And I've talked with a lot of customers. I've talked with our own distribution centers on how we, within our organization, wanted to use collaboratives. And what it boiled down to is the definition of what collaborative means.
Okay.
And then the speed at which something needs to be moved from one pick point to the next pick point. And I think the forgotten attribute was it going to be safe to work around a human? Mm-hmm. And so now, if you look at industry standards, they no longer want to call a robot collaborative, right? Which is a really hardship when you call your product a cobot for short or a collaborative robot. Yeah. And now from an application perspective, it's all about, is the application collaborative? So I use this one a lot. We have a 3 kilogram cobot, much like everybody else in the industry has the small one. And I said, if it's picking up knives and putting them in a case, is that really a collaborative opportunity where you want to work shoulder to shoulder with a robot? I would be a little antsy, am I going to get too close as a sweeping it to put it into a box or whatever the application could be with that knife? Am I going to be safe? Versus if I'm palletizing, hundreds of pounds in a box and putting it on a pallet, how close do I want to be to the robot? It may be moving slow enough, but do I really want a couple of 100 pounds falling on my body? Yeah. So you've got to really look at the application. I think that's where we're maturing in the collaborative space. We're taking a step back, really taking a look at what our need is and determining whether the application is collaborative or not.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was really enlightening. I look forward to hearing and talking more about the plant vitality score and kind of these ways of I guess bringing more of the intangible things into the calculations and trying to quantify them in a way that we can actually look at along with the simple kind of ROI calculation.
Yes.
I guess, yeah, one last thing. We're trying to keep these episodes fairly short. So is there anything that you want to point to? And unfortunately, obviously this is a podcast that's going to come out after Automate. So I, can't tell people like, oh, this is the cool stuff that you have to see. But Schneider, I'm sure, has tons of different ways that people can see this cool stuff outside of just Automate. So is there anything in particular that you're really excited about that you guys are having on display, demos, or something in your booth that you want people to know about? And they can find out about it some way, I'm sure, either, online or through recorded content from Automate or whatever. We're going to have all kinds of content. What should people be looking for from Schneider this year?
So Schneider Electric, we're very excited to be back. Last year was our first participation with Automate. So
really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, so we're very, very happy to be back for year two. Of course, we're going to show off our motion and robotic offers. But what we really want to portray to the audience that's attending Automate 2026 is we're more than just motion and robotics. In fact, like you said, we're the best kept secret within Schneider Electric, but we want customers to know that we're offering end-to-end solutions from power at the pole through what we're really excited about is software-defined automation. And what does automation look like future state? Yeah. Is it going to be hardware tied to software or decoupling of hardware to software? So we're very excited about what the future is going to look like. And it's going to be a mind shift in what hardware and software looks like future state. So
that is definitely something that I am going to be talking about with people at Automate. I'm writing some stuff on this topic coming up here shortly. And I want to point the audience to, we do have on our website and on our YouTube channel, a demo from last year that we did with Jen Sutter and some other ladies from Schneider Electric about EcoStruxure Automation Expert, which is kind of the software for creating PLC, HMI programming and things like that is not tied to specific hardware. It's an open kind of ecosystem. I don't remember the specific alliance name that y'all are a part of that supports that kind of interoperability.
Universal org or universalautomation.org.
Universalautomation.org. That's right. So if you don't know about that yet, go to our website, automationladies.io, and you can see a really cool demo of how that works, what it is, and an interview, with a couple of great people. I think there was like 3 of them. We had an applications engineer on. So that was one of my favorite demos. And yeah, I'd say I need to revisit that at some point, or we'll do an update soon. So thank you so much, Christine. I really appreciate your time. I look forward to hopefully meeting you at Automate next week.
Yes, Nikki, it was a pleasure to meet you virtually, and I look forward to meeting you face-to-face next week.
All right, and everybody that's listening to this, hopefully we also got to meet you at Automate.
Yes.
And if you didn't, or if you did, go follow Christine on LinkedIn. Any other places you want to point people to go to connect with you or to connect with Schneider Electric?
LinkedIn is probably going to be the easiest avenue to get in contact with me. So again, please visit LinkedIn.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much. Bye.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Automation Ladies. If you like our content and you want to stay in touch, please connect with us on LinkedIn, follow the show page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can send us a message or a coffee on our website, automationladies.io. We look forward to getting to know you. Our producer is Veronica Espinoza, and our music is composed by Samuel James.